Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very different, very special, very unique form of Bring Your Child to Work Day. When I found out that you guys were going to be missing out on this event because of the quarantine for COVID-19, I talked to Mr. Skirps and we came up with a way to kind of, instead of bring your child to work, let's bring work to your child, if that makes any sense. Some of you may know my two sons, Jason and Joey Barnacz. They're in 7th and 5th grade. Some of you may not. But what you may not know is I have a very unique and kind of interesting job. I work for MTF Biologics. MTF is the world's largest tissue bank. We process donated human remains into surgical transplant grafts. Now, normally when people talk about tissue donation, they immediately think of organs: heart, lung, liver, kidneys, these vital organs that people need for life-saving procedures. And it's very true, those are type of tissue donations. But also, in addition to donating organs, people don't realize or don't think of as much is bone and tendons and skin, and even the amniotic sac after childbirth. Can be donated and used for surgical transplant grafts. And my company that I work for processes these different tissue forms, just bone and skin and placenta sac, into surgical transplant grafts that oftentimes will save lives or heal people who are having serious injuries like bone cancer or diabetic ulcers. So some of you right now are probably thinking, that's kind of gross. Some of you might be thinking that's really cool, and it's okay. It's not for everyone. It takes definitely a certain kind of person to get in there and process these different tissue types. Tissue donation and tissue transplants have gone back many, many years. MTF themselves have been in business over 30 years now, producing aseptic quality tissue to the United States and around the world in different capacities. But even outside of MTF, the world of tissue donation has extended hundreds of years. In 1668, the first successful bone graft was used, and that was actually a piece of a dog's skull that was used to fix a human skull. So tissue grafting is not a new concept at all. People who have been practicing medicine for hundreds of years have seen the benefits of using transplanted bone. In 1822, the first autograft transplantation, skin from one area of a patient was removed and transplanted to another area of the same patient. That's an autograft. In 1868, the fresh allograft was then done. That's a transplant of tissue from one person's skin to another person, used as a skin transplant. That was in, again, 1868. And a host of other amazing advances in tissue has happened since then. Up in 1949, the U.S. Navy established the first U.S. tissue bank right in Maryland, in the United States of Maryland. In 1854, the first kidney transplant took place, and that was done in Boston, Massachusetts. In 1962, there was the first heart valve transplant that took place, and that was done in New Zealand. Again, advancing sciences all the time. The company I work for, we do a lot in research and development. We're looking for new ways to help people. 1963, the first liver transplant took place. 1964, the first lung transplant. And in 1967, the first heart transplant. The full heart, not just a valve, but the entire heart was transplanted from one patient to another. So these medicines and these different techniques for surgeries have come a long way in the developing years. And once people saw the benefit of using donated tissue, they sought after it. I'm going to provide Mr. Skirpst a couple of videos. The company I work for does have a YouTube channel. You can look it up. It's MTF Biologics on YouTube to look at different stories. But 3 stories that I have in particular I'd like to share with you guys. The story about a young woman, her name is Carrie Daly, and she needed a tendon graft in her shoulders. There's a person who suffered severe burns in Australia. She was a long distance runner. She was running a marathon in Australia, got caught in a brush fire, and she suffered severe burns all over most of her body. She needed these life-saving tissue forms for Skin for Burn, and that tissue came right here from MTF in Edison, New Jersey, and it was sent to Australia for these victims of this horrific brush fire. Her name is Toria Pitt. And the third story is a young boy by the name of Chase, and he had bone cancer in his arm, and the surgeon was going to use amputation as a way to try and relieve him of this bone cancer. Once they found out that Chase's bone cancer was limited to one bone, they looked into tissue donation to replace the bone that they needed to cut away, the cancerous infected bone, and replace it with donated healthy tissue. And Chase is actually doing very well, and I would love for you to see his story, because he's right around some of your ages. He's about 9 or 10 at the time. So I'm going to share these stories with Mr. Skirpst, and if you guys have any other questions, or if you want to learn more about tissue donation, I encourage you to look into it. April is Donor Awareness Month. There's a lot of information out there. You can look up the Donor Sharing Network, MTF Biologics. There's a whole host of events going on to bring awareness to tissue donation. You can get more on the internet. I would encourage you guys to look up tissue donation. If you have any other questions, you want to reach out to me, Mr. Skirpst will have my information. I'm more than happy to answer any kind of emails, or if you guys want to video chat using Zoom, if you want to have me in and speak at one of your classes, I'll do that as well. But I would love for you guys to take an interest in tissue donation and look it up. So enjoy your Bring Your Child to Work Day event, and I hope that you are all staying healthy and protecting yourselves and protecting those around you. And we hope that you guys will get back to school soon. And by next year, I'm hoping maybe we can have an event where you guys actually could come and maybe visit our facility and get a tour of the walk around and see how things are done, and get a little bit more in depth on the actual processing of the tissue. But until then, I wish you guys all the best, and thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you, Mr. Skirpst, for reaching out and talking, inviting me to do this, and I hope that the students are all going to enjoy and learn something, that there's a lot of different career opportunities in the fields of science and medicine that takes all different types and all different people to help those around them. So thank you very much for allowing me to do this.